In this tutorial, we're going to look at importing things into Teragon. There are a number of different import commands that can be used, and right now I have the World Previewer preset loaded, which lets you import an existing map into Teragon and preview it. This uses a lot of import commands, so it's a good way to show off the different commands that are available, and we'll add some more commands to it as we go. Import commands all work basically the same. You have to already have a file that you want to import, and then you're going to import it into Teragon instead of generating it. The first thing you want to be aware of is what you have here on the basic tab, output directory and world. Your output directory is normally going to be generated worlds in your user data folder, and the world is the name of the map. In order to import anything, you need to have a folder created in your generated worlds folder, and whatever you're importing needs to be in that folder. Whatever the name of that folder is what you want to put for world. So if you have a folder called map and you wanted to import something, you would put the items that you're importing into that map folder in generated worlds, and you would put map here as world. If this is a valid folder, it's going to actually show as red, which is normally an error message or a warning. It means that that folder already exists, and normally you wouldn't want to create anything in that folder. However, because what we're doing is importing it, we're going to put that here, and we would actually want it to be red. In this case, I don't actually have anything in there, but that's okay since we're just using it as an example. We go back over to the Expert tab, and we're going to start out with the first one in here, which is Import Biome Map. If you already have a biome map created, you can import it. You will want to look at what we have here in the help text. Any biome map has to use these exact colors. These are the RGB values, red, green, and blue. If you have anything that's different, it's not going to be correct. So you need to make sure that these are all the exact right values, no shades or anything like that. When you have a biome map that's created and valid, you're going to normally leave the biome map name alone as the default value, my biome map. You can change that. Sometimes you may want more than one biome map loaded, and if you do, you need to have different names for each biome map. The file name is going to be the name of the file that you're loading. Again, this file needs to be within that folder that you set up on the basic tab. So you're not going to put a path, you're just going to put the file name. Normally, you leave format file checked, enabled like this. That will make sure that if there's any kind of an error in that biome map, such as incorrect size or colors, it will attempt to fix that for you. You can uncheck that if you want, but you're more likely to have some kind of an error message. Now for any of the map imports, you're going to have a rotation and then options for mirror horizontally and mirror vertically. For some reason, the game uses different rotations and mirroring for different maps, and that means that we also have to use what the game uses. So for any of these imports, make sure you look over here in the help text for rotation and mirror, and it's going to have a tip that tells you what you should set it to. So in this case, for biome map, rotation should be set to 180, and the mirroring should be set to horizontal, but not vertical. So you see we have 180, and we have mirror horizontal, but we don't have mirror vertical. You would put that in near the top of your command queue, and then don't generate a new biome map. Or if you do, don't use the same biome map name. That way when you preview your map, it will use the biome map that you imported, and you don't have to regenerate a new biome map. This works great if you've created a biome map that you really like, and you want to keep using it without having to regenerate it every time. You make sure that you export the biome map using the export biome map command, and then you can import it, and you don't have to generate that biome map again. It can save a lot of time if you're trying to try different things, but still use that same biome map each time. If you were exporting the biome map, you will have a command that looks like this. Very similar layout to the import command. The biomap name needs to match whatever your biomap is that you're going to export. In most cases, you just always leave it as the default my biomap, unless you're using your own name for that. The file name should just be the name without extension. So instead of biomes.png, it's just going to be biomes. It's going to automatically create that .png at the end for you. If you put .png in here, you're going to end up with a file name that's biomes.png.png, which is going to cause you problems. So make sure you do not add that to the file name. Rotation and mirroring, you should be looking over here on the export biomap help text. And as you can see, this should be 180, which it isn't. So we would want to put that in there. And that we want to mirror horizontally, but not vertically. So we want to do that. If you don't do that, the rotation and mirror will be wrong. And in the end, you're going to end up with a map that doesn't match the biomes that you wanted. They'll be either rotated wrong or mirrored incorrectly. If we look at import height map, very similar to what we had for import biomap, except for this is your height map. The file name is normally going to be a DTM file name, unless it's some map that you got from somewhere else. If it is a height map for 7 Days to Die on a map that's already being used, it's going to be a DTM file. If you got it from some other source, it could be named something else. You just want to make sure you're using the correct name. If you do have both a .raw file and a .png file, which is what you would have if you export the height map from Teragon, it is better to use a .raw file because it's a lot better resolution. However, the .png file will work just fine. Rotation, mirroring, same thing as before. We want to look at what's over here. Rotation says that it should be 90. And the mirroring horizontally and vertically says you should not mirror horizontally or vertically. So we're going to leave those alone. So it's basically the same thing as you had with import biomap, but we're looking at the height map instead. Roadmap uses the splat3 PNG file. If you're using a roadmap that was created for the game, again, you want to look at your rotation and mirroring settings to make sure you're importing it correctly. We're going to jump down here to water map, which is the splat4 PNG. So it's the same thing as road, but now it's the water map. And again, check your rotation and mirroring. If we look at POIs, this is somewhat different from the other ones. You're going to have your file name that you're importing, and then you have an option to set a location where you want to import from. Generally, you're going to leave this as all zeros. That way you import all POI. But if for some reason you only want to import POI from one part of the map, you can import them from a square or rectangle area somewhere on the map by using these coordinates. Import player spawn. The only thing you really have is the file name. The default for this game is spawnpoints.xml. If you have it named something else, you can of course change that. Import zone map works just like the other maps. Normally the file name is going to be radiation.png. You want to set your rotation and mirroring, and then that will let you import those. Those are your main import commands that you would use. However, we do have some more import commands that we will look at. We have import mask map, import region map, import POI property list, and import town property list. Import mask map is used if you want to create a mask map that shows where you want towns to be placed. If you want to do this, you want to read the instructions on how to do that. You're basically creating a black and white image where the white spots are the places where you want towns to be placed, and the black spots are where you don't want towns to be placed. I'm not going to get into the specifics on how that works and how to set it up, but if you've created a mask map, you'd use this import mask map command, set the file name to whatever you called it, set your rotations and mirroring, and that will import that mask map for you. Import region map, again the same thing, except for that's normally going to be called regions.png. Set your rotation and mirroring, and then that will import those. These next two are going to be a bit different because they are not actual maps, they're just property lists. The import POI property list will import any POI property list that you want to import. These are going to be a list of any parameters that you want for POI. For example, if you want to set something up to use a certain distance between it and other POI or other duplicate POI, or if you want to set what region it spawns in or how many times it can spawn them on the map, you can do that from here with a POI property list. You would put in the property list path and name. In this case, it is not required to be in your map folder like the other maps are. You can have this anywhere else and just put the path and file name. Import town property list will allow you to import a town property list. This is very similar to the import POI property list, except for this relates to town types instead of POIs. This has an option to choose subdirectories and use a filter for the name. What that means is that you can set a specific property list with a path and file name, or you can just put the path and optionally choose subdirectories, and anything with the same filter for the name will be loaded. This is useful if you have multiple town property lists and you want to load them all. For example, in CompoPack, there's a town property list for each of the town types. If you want to load all of those, you can point it to that folder and then use this name filter to load up all of the lists that use that same name. You can adjust this name filter to what you want. In this case, it will load any text file in that folder, and if I check subdirectories, all subdirectories as well, that has town in the file name somewhere with a .txt extension. If I want to start with town only, I can remove the star, and then it's going to be anything that starts with the word town. Just adjust this to whatever you need, and you'll be able to load multiple lists if you want to. If you're only going to load one list, you can just put the path and file name up here yourself, and then you don't have to worry about the filter at all. All of these import commands will import something that you already have created, which can mean that you don't have to recreate it again if you want to try different seeds or try something else. Just keep in mind that if you do import something, normally you don't want to change it again. So that means that you need to disable or remove any commands that would change it. For example, if you import the biome map, you want to remove or disable any of the create biome map commands so that it doesn't overwrite your biome map with a new one. You can do this with any of the commands that you see here. All of these you would need to first export so that you have those files, unless you got them from somewhere else. And then when you import them again, you'll be able to use those. Keep in mind that some things change the height map besides just the height map itself. So if you export the height map and then import it and add towns to it, if you export that again, everywhere those towns are will have been smoothed out. And then if you import that height map again and want to do a new generation of towns somewhere else, you're still going to have those flat spots on the height map. So it's a good idea to keep a backup of your originally exported height map before creating towns or roads or wilderness or region POI. That's pretty much it for the import and export commands. I know I didn't go through export except for that one example, but they all work the same way. Basically, it's just the reverse of the import command. Instead of importing it, you're exporting it. So you will just set the file name, and that's what's going to be exported. With all of the map commands, make sure that you are setting the rotation and the mirroring correctly. Double check the help text to make sure it is correct. Don't assume it's correct, or you may end up with stuff that's rotated or mirrored incorrectly. You could end up with your height map facing one direction and the biome map facing another direction, and it may not make very much sense. If you have any questions or need any help with the import and export commands, or with anything else with Teragon, please check out the chat and help channel on Teragon's Discord, and someone will be able to help you.